Alright guys, it's your boy, Bad News Bears, and webcam's still broken. It's been a while since I've done a tier list, so let's do another one. So, we got the usual. We got S through F, and the best tier above S for characters that are a shocking standout, that are just like in just a classification of their own. Because it seems to keep existing within Predecessor. So, let's start with Countess. Now, Countess has been hit with like the anti-tank Countess nerfs, which that's their own thing. I personally think that Countess is very strong. We're also like kind of sort of getting away from tanks right now with this recent 0.4 patch, which makes me inclined to move Countess back up a bit. So I'm going to put Countess in A. I think that's like a real good spot for her right now. Just not insanely goated, but definitely up there. Then we have the boy Crunch. Dude, I've been sleeping on Crunch, man. I'm conceding it. I'm conceding that I've been sleeping on Crunch. People who can play Crunch well make this character look turbo broken. So, I'm going to put him in A. I think I'm going to put him in A. He can still die. So, the CC chain's just nasty. Like, it's such a high skill ceiling character. And a lot of people just don't know how to play him correctly. So, I was definitely sleeping on the boy Crunch. Mutilator nerfs kind of hurt him, but do the Mutilator change hurt him where we lose Omnivamp in favor of CDR? Yeah. Decker, I think Decker's kind of fallen to the wayside. I don't see anyone playing Decker, but I still think Decker's pretty goated A. I mean, like, what isn't there to like about Decker? She does some damage. That ball stun's pretty insane. The cage is crazy. I don't know why I feel like Decker's fallen to the wayside. Drongo, he does damage. He's the safest ADC currently. Hey, yeah. Fang Mao. I'm sorry, Fang Mao. Gotta put you in C, homie. You just don't do a whole lot. Fang Mao can be good from behind. He kind of sucks and has to rely almost solely on his execute. He's super frail. The mobility is great, but also Crunch is just more mobile. I don't know, the thing you do the best is done better by someone else. I just see. Faye's great. Faye's super solid. I don't think I ever would get annoyed if my teammate picked Faye, you know? So solid A. Good crowd, like good CC ult, like an insane ult. In my opinion, the most obnoxious ability in the game, but great ult. For those freaks that level, what is it, her E? The enhanced like auto attack, you know what I'm talking about. When you hit him, it goes on a shorter cooldown. That ability, that thing's super oppressive early game too. Gadget, shit ton of AOE damage. A root, the root's not the greatest in the world, but it's still a root. Hard CC on a mage is great. The movement speed buff, solid S for sure. Gideon, solid S as well. Shit ton of damage. If you're good with Gideon, that is, with like the auto attacks. Portal, super safe, great for getting your team around the map as well. Just two very solid mages. Yeah, definitely S tier. Grux had kind of fallen to the wayside, right? With the nerfs, like to just his base stats. But then Sevarog kind of got really good, so Grux got better. But now Sevarog's been nerfed again, so I kind of feel like Grux is a bit underwhelming. Also, Rampage just got nerfed. And those are kind of the two characters that I think Grux did really well into. So I'm going to put him back down in B. Howitzer, is he good? Sure. Is every mage good and better? Yeah, so B. There's nothing wrong with picking Howitzer. He's got good crowd control, good escape. His ult's alright. His ult's pretty good, can be used pretty well. I think it's worse than every other mage ult in the game currently, but besides the point, Howitzer's solid. Kalari, you're a D. They kind of gutted Kalari. In pubs, Kalari is like, if we're just talking strictly pubs, I think Kalari's like A, S. People don't know how to deal with Kalari, right? I'm just gonna put Kalari in D. I think Kalari is super underwhelming with the nerfs. Any good player can keep their eye on their map and can roughly get a feel for when a Kalari may be around. Chimera, with stuff like Sevarog getting nerfed and Rampage getting nerfed, I don't like Chimera as much. He does still have insane objective presence, but is that enough to warrant him being like above a B? I don't think it is. Bellica, dude, people are huge on Bellica. People love this character. Like the knockups, I feel like this is another character with like a fairly high skill ceiling. I've played her once and found her super boring. This is probably a garbage take, but I'm putting her in B. I don't know. I feel like every time I see a Bellica, like they just kind of underperform. Like everyone talks about this character, but I have yet to see this character do insanely well. Consistently, anyways. Murdoch, I am a Murdoch non-believer. I'll put him in B. Like he's still playable. The traps are super good to play around. Global ults are always devastating. I think if it wasn't for the global ult, I'd put him in C, but then again, maybe the global ult being changed gives him a different ult that's better in actual just fighting. He kind of gets dumpstered by every other ADC. I personally don't know why you ever pick Murdoch unless Chimera is in your game. Muriel. Yeah. I mean, Omega fucked up. They bug fixed Muriel, and then they also turbo buffed Muriel plus items that Muriel builds. Like Muriel with Wellspring is probably more broken than Narbash was. That might not be true, but possible. Speaking of Narbash, I think Narbash is really good. The constant sustain is really nice, forcing people to build Tainted, which feels okay on a carry, but like it's definitely a noticeable drop in your power. Shinbi likes it, so that's not a big deal for Shinbi, honestly. A lot of characters don't like anti-heal right now. I think Tainted Blade feels really bad, so anyone who has to build into Blade it's kind of a fat L. I think that item feels like hot garbage. So Narbash is pretty good. The healing's nice. The movement speed's great. Okay ult, it's easy to get canceled out of, but even if you do get canceled out of, it's still a massive AoE slow, right? Rampage has seen a pretty significant nerf to his damage. Honestly, you shouldn't be building... This character wasn't really going damage anyway. There was that Bonesaw augmentation build that was like pub stompy. I still think he's really good. I don't think there's an issue with Rampage. I don't know if I want to put him in S or if I want to put him in A. He can definitely still be played support. I think I'm gonna keep him in S. Yeah, I think Rampage is still an S tier character. Actually, now that I think about this next point, he's an A tier character. His jungle presence is his objective presence is basically non-existent now. Before, a Rampage was tanky enough that you could solo Fangtooth with Fire Blossom in like kind of a timely manner. It doesn't happen anymore. No, he just doesn't have the base damage anymore. Fire Blossom nerf hurts that too. He kind of fell off a cliff damage wise. But you cannot argue with with a ranged stun that you can just hit an unsuspecting person from the fog wall with a stun across the entire lane. I can throw the rock from tower to tower if I'm goated, which I am, obviously. His ult's insane, the amount of sustain you get. Razorback is still a fantastic crest. They haven't nerfed it for some reason. Rampage is still good. You just can't deny it. He's an A. Richter, he's kind of fallen off a cliff. The mana hit to his hook really sucks. His base amount of regen hit really sucks. Every other support has been buffed to the moon. And I'm gonna put Richter in B. He has his uses, for sure, in offlane support and in jungle. It can be a real cheeky pick in jungle. If you're goated with the hooks, he becomes infinitely better, but... You know. Sevarog was turbo buffed to possibly best tier, honestly. I think I rated him really low on my last tier list because I wasn't sure how much the buff was going to do for him, but it did so much. I think he's an A. He's still fantastic even after the nerfs. Great movement. Like, that dash is super far, and that's on a shorter cooldown now. Does a fair bit of damage, a ton of sustain, and that ult's pretty sick too. Sparrow, I think Sparrow's actually worse now. I'm gonna put her in B as well, though it's like B plus if I did that. We're shifting away from tank meta. She's great at shredding tanks. Aside from that, she doesn't do much, you know, that Drongo can't do. Steel, people are starting to fall against Steel. I don't know how you can be against Steel. We're talking from like a casual standpoint. It's 3 easy back-to-back CCs with his ult, his dash, and his right-click stun. Sure, they shorted the range. It's also percent health damage. Like, come on. A wall to stop projectiles that deals damage, not a lot, but deals damage and slows. He's got 4 CCs in this kit. You know how many abilities you have in your kit? 4. Why does he need 4? Crazy. Also, from a competitive standpoint, he can flex into 4 of the 5 roles. The only role he can't flex into is ADC. So, great. He's great for picking competitively. It hides literally all your picks. It's crazy. Revenant. Agora just happened. Eliminated first round, baby. Let's go. But we got eliminated by the winners. Speaking of the winners, they played Revenant a lot and won a lot with specifically Revenant a lot. They make me want to put him in S, but I'm not sure. I'm going to put him in S. You know why? Because again, we're getting away from tank meta. You know what Revenant had a hard time with? Killing tanks compared to other ADCs. You know what he doesn't have to deal with anymore? As many tanks. Because people want to play crunch. People want to play... They don't want to play weird shit in mid as much anymore. They want to play Shinbi. They want to play crunch again. Also tanks, like, even if tanks are still... They want to play Muriel. Even if tanks are still getting picked, they're not as strong as they were. There's something to be said about having an ult that can take a jungler out of an objective fight so they can't hunt the objective. His Q has absurd range for no reason. Please revert that change. There's no reason his Q should be that far range. It goes through walls now. There's indirect buff. That was because it was a bug fix. Revenant's just really good, man. I'm just going to put him in S. He could be an A. I'm going to put him in S. Recency bias. He's an S. And then we come to Shinbi. See, when I play Shinbi, she's up here because I'm the best Shinbi. But this is tough because it's always tough to gauge where a new character is because people suck at dealing with new characters. So, like, I'm not comfortable fully rating a character until, like, 2 weeks after because then people figure out how to deal with it. Like, what? She dunks on Chimera. She dunks on Feng Mao. She dunks on Grux late game. Or if you level your shield. Like, she's forcing you to buy Breach. And anti-heal. She has the Wraith Leggings build, which I think is the way to go, but you can also go World Breaker for high CC comps. Like, if there's a steal on the enemy team, I'm going World Breaker. But she can just force... So I'm inclined to put her in S. It's S or A. There's no way it's B. She does a ton of damage. That ult's insane. Like, constantly having a shield up, the Q being on, like, a 2-second cooldown come late game. The double dash being on a relatively short cooldown late game. I'm just going to put her in S. Recency bias, you know, one trick bias, maybe. But, we'll see. We also haven't been able to play her competitively just because Agora didn't allow her. So we haven't been scrimming with her. We can do now because the next tournaments will be allowing her. But, yeah. Once again, game pretty balanced. As you see, there's a fat chunk in the middle here. And then, like, a couple of jabronis lacking, and then one in particular character who got super overtuned. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tier list, I guess. If you disagree, let me know. You think that Shinbi's F tier? You want to put Shinbi down here? Let me know. Tell me why. You're wrong, but tell me why. Bears out. Peace. Where is it? I know it's down here somewhere. There it is. I found it. It's another video. Watch it. I searched for so long.